Hi, everyone, and welcome to week 3 of Literature and Composition. I hope you're having a great week today, a great week this week. It's Monday, and thank you all of you who've been reaching out to me. I have a few things going on, but so far, no positive test from COVID, so I'm hoping to stay that way. I hope you all are staying healthy and safe. I know it's just a really super crazy time out there. So I feel for you and I'm here to support you in any way that I can. So please reach out to me if you have any questions or concerns or you haven't been able to turn things in, let me know. And I can work with you on a case-by-case basis. Excuse me. So we are at week 3 and there's been a little confusion with the schedule, and that's not your fault, it's mine. Some things kind of had gotten moved around, and so I just want to make sure we're all at the same place. And again, if you haven't been able to turn something in because if you've been confused, just reach out to me. We should be back to normal now. So the first week, of course, I'm just going to share screen really quick so you can see this. And it should be the same for you when you see it. So the first week, of course, we did the Hunger Games. The blog or the vlog was due by Friday at midnight. Second week, last week, we did Unwind by Neil Shusterman. And that blog was due by Sunday. I had extended it because I wanted you to have a little bit more time. And then one of the students had, Jasmine had contacted me and told me that this link, a couple of the pages, the last chapter or two was gone. So I put in a new a document here, which had the entire text, but it's a PDF and sometimes you have to flip the pages. So it's not as easy to read. So I left the easy to read one and then the harder to read one at the end so that you could get to the end. Because I know if I didn't get to see the end, I would not be very happy with me. So anyway, that's there. And then this week, we're going to swing back around or circle back around to Catching Fire. So we're going to do a movie and we're going to watch the second installment of Katniss's narrative. And then that will be due by this Friday at midnight. So we can kind of get a break from reading. And then week 4, we move on to Anthem, which is also a short story. And the link to that one is here, and that will be due that Friday. And then we have a micro theme, which I'll talk about a little bit at the end of this video today. And we can talk about that some more. So I'm going to stop sharing and you can just see me. So anyway, so I hope you liked Unwind. I really think that's a fun narrative, and a couple of you responded back that you're going to continue on with the series. The whole series is good, so I think you won't be disappointed if you decide to continue on and read some more and hear a little more about Connor and Reese's adventures. And then we're going to circle back to Catching Fire. So I always think Catching Fire is interesting. There's a little bit of an homage to Hunger Games, right? Some of the plot is similar in the fact that they go back into the arena for this one at the beginning, and they get to learn maybe more about themselves within this arena. Not really at the beginning, it's kind of halfway through at this point, actually. And you get to see more of Katniss's development as a character, and you get to see a little bit more of a development or a peek into the world that they're dealing with. I think that when we go back and we think about Hunger Games, it's all really new to Katniss, and she's not very savvy. You're gonna see a Katniss that has grown up a little bit in Catching Fire, and she's kind of learning how it works. And this is going to be very hard on her, but it's going to start the development of Katniss as a role model in a certain level. I always think of the first Hunger Games, I think of Katniss as a reluctant hero. She's not somebody that goes in to save the day. She kind of ends up, because of her ethics and her morals, being the person who stands up for good, right? But Katniss gets to see a little bit more about good and evil. So this is a good transition to hear a little bit more about her story. So I'm intrigued to hear what you guys think, and to hear what you definitely think when you consider it against Unwind, right? And that's one of the questions that I wrote in week 3 is how is the world different from the one that Katniss lives in to the world that Connor and Risa live in Unwind. There's some similarities. They're both definitely dystopian worlds, but what's different about it? And then what's the value? So I think a lot of times we read these and watch these dystopian narratives because we want to be entertained. But is there something else going on that we can learn, from these narratives? Does it speak about the world that we're living in today? Is it a reflection of the world that we're living in today? I think those are really interesting questions. When you go back and you look at interviews from Suzanne Collins from the Hunger Games, and when she was coming up with this narrative, she talks a lot about when the idea for this material came. And she was up late one night and she was flicking around at late night TV. And as she was flicking around, there was a war footage on from, I believe it's Afghanistan. It could have been Iraq, but which is both are still appropriately to look at right now. And as she was flipping channels, then she would flip over to that TV show Survivor, which I think is still showing right now, which is kind of a reality TV show. And she was very distraught because of a lot of things she was seeing in Survivor mimicked or alluded to what she was watching on television with the war footage. And it really was upsetting to her. And this idea came to her about real life and reality TV. And so this story about Katniss started to emerge from her. And I think it's really interesting when we start thinking about fiction, because for a long time now, fiction has been, I don't know, I would say brushed off within our society. It's been treated kind of as not necessary or valuable, maybe as it was in the past. But I think that what's really interesting about these fictional narratives is that they're not really written in a vacuum. They're definitely in response to kind of what's happening in our world. A long time ago, there used to be theory, a literature theory about how you can read literature. And they used to say things like, you can only look within the text. You can't look outside. So you couldn't look at the author. You couldn't look at the background. You couldn't look at the society that it was written in to analyze it. And it's kind of an old-fashioned way of looking at literature. And then some theorists came out and they kind of debunked this whole idea. Greenblatt came out and he looked at it from an anthropological standpoint, that you could look at a society and the writings and the ideas became a reflection of the society. And then Wolfgang Iser, who's another theorist I really like, came out with this idea of reader response theory. And he said that the meaning of the text, so this is the book that you're reading or the movie that you're watching, the meaning of those words is somewhere in between the text, the words, and the person, that it's created somewhere in between. That we bring what we know to text, and that it's a reflection of our society, our culture, the ways that we think. And this really opens up how we can analyze and look at these narratives. It makes them more relevant to us as readers, right? That it's our own experiences and the experience of the world, that these materials aren't written in a vacuum, that make them valuable to us, that allow us to look at them at deeper hidden meanings, right? And connect with these narratives to understand ourselves and the world around us. There's a really awesome article that I use in a couple of my classes that talks a lot about dystopian literature that I think applies to really all literature. And it's by, the author is Melissa Ames, and it's Engaging Apolitical Adolescence. And I have it if anyone's interested in it. But she says that the reason why these dystopian novels are so interesting to students right now is because, or to young people, is because it allows them to grapple with real world problems in the safe confines of fiction. And I think that's really brilliant, right? Like, we're all facing things in our world right now that are really difficult. And And then I think one way that we can look at them and kind of be able to, evaluate things is through the lens of fiction, because it gives us that little bit of distance, right? Where we can actually think about some of the things that these social justice issues that these narratives are bringing up, but they're not as close as if they were us. But they give us a reflective tool to be able to consider issues like in Hunger Games. Poverty is a huge one. Hunger, of course, is the Hunger Games. Race. In Unwind, you're dealing with social issues like abortion, right? The value of a child, how we value humanity. Those are all really huge questions in Unwind. So these are just some ideas, hopefully, that will get you thinking about blogs and vlogs, micro themes, as we move forward. Of course, the blog and vlogs, or blog and or blog, is due on Fridays. They're always due on Fridays by midnight, except for I extended that one for Unwind. And then the micro theme, we're going to have a micro theme due on Sunday, September 19th. It's going to be over this unit. So this is the dystopian unit that will include Hunger Games, Catching Fire, Unwind, and Anthem. And you can either work with one or two, or talk about multiple of these. It's a 4-page paper, and thinking about the connections and the ideas that are in them and how they relate to our world and how they relate to you personally. So I'm always looking for analysis, right? Looking at the text, specific parts of the text, picking it apart and analyzing it. And then, of course, bringing your connections and ideas to it. What's a value in it for you? What do you find in it valuable? How can you connect it with your everyday life? How can it be applied? What can you learn from it, even though it's only a story? Anyway, I hope this is helping. If you need anything, again, I've said this a few times in this video, but please reach out. I'm available for you, and I hope you're doing well. And I'll be back next week, and we'll be talking about Anthem. Okay, take care and have a good day.